Welcome back, and we're going to share with you on the subject that comes out of Revelation called Babylon Has Fallen. For those of you who will be in the neighborhood next Sunday night, we're going to do something that long overdue called the Prophet of Islam, which I think you'll find very interesting. This is Babylon Has Fallen. This is it's very timely and kind of upsetting when you look at some of the comparisons of cultures that have fallen and disappeared. And then you look at this culture that we live in, called the United States of America, and there is just too many similarities to be coincidental. We were talking this morning that this country could be compared, and rightly so, to the Roman Empire, which very powerful, strong armies, tremendous culture, intellectual science, the whole bit. But something happened in which they became obsessed with violence as entertainment. And they used to send up the Colosseum and all of these places and have lions eating people and all of this stuff. And it became a macabre type of entertainment. That's when they went out Saturdays. They sold tickets. There was guys hawking hot dogs and popcorn at the gate, and they're going to go in and see a bear eat somebody or something like that. So this very bizarre type of entertainment was violence. And then soon after, this great culture was gone. Nothing left of it. Now, you don't have a Colosseum to go see violence, so you don't need one, because the Colosseum is your living room, and it comes right to you. All the violence in the world, you got so much violence, and the problem with it, if we were to leave this particular subject and go over to some of the past subjects in which we've studied the work of Carl Jung, he would say that if you allow this violence to continue to pound itself into your brain, that it's going to lodge into the subconscious of people, and many people who are given or are prone to having a problem will one day act out everything that's piled into their brain. So you have this constant things of people getting raped, constant things of people getting cut with knives, people getting machine gun, high-powered guns, and then you see it all over the place. Suddenly the explosion comes because the subconscious can't take it anymore, and you act it out. So what has happened is this great USA, the United States of America, the system and the competitive aspects of the system, in order to make a profit, have decreed, just as they did in Rome, that the profit motive will be very, very strong if we can entertain with violence. And that's what we've done for years, and now it has reached a point where the subconscious of so many people can't handle it anymore, and they go outside and they act it out. And that's it. But see, they say, how can you turn it around? Oh, they're going to call the churches. You know, we read the book. You can't do that. They're going to try to do something in the schools. You know the sad part of it? Maybe too late. It may be too late. Because you've got whole... what am I looking for? The word I'm looking for. You've got whole aspects of people who have grown into the system with this stuff pounded into their heads, and they're out of control. Right now you have a government in this country doesn't have the slightest idea what to do about it, and then what can they do? Well, you have to wait 5 days before you can buy your machine gun. So you'll die 5 days later. I mean, but still in all, they're going to get the gun. But even if they took all the guns, it doesn't make any difference anymore, because it's not guns, it's not the waiting for a license, it's the fact that the profit system in this country has found it very profitable to promote violence. They've done it, and they've put this into the subconscious of millions and millions of people, and there are some like the David Koreshes who are not emotionally capable of handling this stuff, and they come out, and the next day you hear about some guy in a parking lot killing people and so forth and so on. What you then come to the point of thinking of, if this is indeed the same as ancient Rome, then the United States is in the process of internal self-destruction. It is literally committing suicide. It's devouring itself. And it just may be too late to do anything about it. And that's why it's so important for you who understand this to move away from this, for one thing, and to move into an aura of meditation that keeps you right in that center aspect of the mind, away from all of those things. I tell you the truth, I know in our house, and of course I don't tell anybody what to do about anything, but as soon as that stuff comes on television, it's gone. I don't even stay 10 seconds. You know, I am not interested in seeing a bullet enter somebody's brain or somebody's insides falling out or any of those things. And it has an effect on you. It has a tremendous effect on children, and it's not a question of, well, they're seeing this violence, it's a question of what's it doing to their subconscious. Remember this guy here, Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, and these people that know what they're talking about, and they warned you about this 100 years ago. And many others of notable stature have said the same thing. So as we look at that, and then you can start to draw comparisons to what is being said here, Babylon has fallen, and now you're in a situation where the violence all over the world and the internal violence in this country reaches such epic proportions that you now have to back away and look as an onlooker and see, you know, just when this is going to happen, how this is going to take place, that this structure will collapse, and it will. It's not anybody cheering for it. It's not anybody saying, well, this is the way it has to go. It's just simply saying, this certainly is reminiscent of what is spoken of in the Scriptures and is reminiscent of what we saw in history past, and this great, great Roman Empire of what we live in now could be destroyed by the same thing that the original Roman Empire was destroyed, and that is by using violence as entertainment. Look at Revelation 14 on page 1010, 1010, Revelation chapter 14. And look at verse 6. 1010, Revelation 14, verse 6. And I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having the everlasting gospel to preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people. And you know, I have always would look at a scripture like that and just want to throw up, because I'm not interested in angels flying around preaching the gospel. You know, what could turn me off more than that, what should turn you off more than that, is looking at another religious description of an angel flying around reading the Bible to people. But when you begin to understand that this is not referring to a winged creature flying around with a Bible in its hand, you realize that there is a mental impulse. A mental impulse. Angel. In your head, in the higher realms, in the right hemisphere of the brain, heaven. And that mental impulse is right now active in billions and billions of people, and it is saying something. It is proclaiming, if you would, a fact. It is proclaiming a gospel, which indeed would be the scriptures of the most ancient times that come through that umbilical cord of nature, warning that there is a problem. There is something that has to be said to the people that dwell on this earth, to people that will listen. That's why you sit here. That's why we have, and I'll tell you something, we don't have anybody working for this church to do this television stuff. I do it myself. Joe and Rose help with the television. I couldn't do it. Kathy Gill helps. That's about the staff. And we have actually more than we can deal with. And I love to get the telephone calls, and we love to see the thing grow, but we can't really handle it, okay? Because it runs on the basis of, if a person can afford to help, fine. If they can't, we send them tapes anyhow, and, you know, that's expensive, and so you can't afford to pay people to. But I'm telling you, the interest that comes with the phone that rings and the people, there is so many people from all over the country who write us in this little thing here, trying to find out what is it, because there's a mental impulse speaking from their higher consciousness, telling them to listen to something, telling them that there needs to be a change. In the same way that you have in your life. You have relatives that are sitting home right now, having the slightest idea what we're talking about, have no idea what we're talking about, and yet they are living in a society that is falling apart from the inside right underneath them. There's a foundation just crumbling right under their feet, and most of them are in church today. And that same institution is part of the thing that's crumbling right under their feet. As Jesus said, there won't be one rock standing upon the other. This whole thing is going down the drain. And it's not bad. that it's going down the drain. It's part of the cleansing. It's part of the Aquarian cleansing, because it is a terribly destructive thing. And even in this great country, it's great if you made it. But it's not if you didn't. If you're one of the $7 an hour people that have to have 4 jobs in order to be able to feed your kids and to be able to pay for your insurance, it isn't that great. If you happen to be one who hits the jackpot on Wall Street or something like that, that's fine. But you can do the same thing in Russia. You can do the same thing in Portugal. You can do the same thing anywhere. If you're one of the haves, it's wonderful. God bless America. But if you're one of the have-nots, you're ready for a revolution, because you can't afford it anymore. And you can't keep up. You can't keep up with the rules and regulations that accommodate the rich. Even the insurance laws, the automobile insurance laws in this state alone accommodate rich people. It's no problem. So it costs $1,500, $2,000 a year for insurance. So what? Here's my check. Where's the guy with $7 an hour going to get that? Doesn't make any difference. He's got to have it. And if he's caught without that, then bang. He loses his license. So what happens now? You drive without a license because I got to go to work. I got to feed the kids. I pick him up next time he goes to jail. And so this type of stuff that goes on gradually decays that heart, the very heart of the system, and the system starts to collapse on itself. And basically that's what's happening here. This impulse that you've heard, the reason you're sitting here, the reason you're watching this on that television set, is because of this angel who's been flying in heaven, or what it really means, the impulse that's coming from within your head, saying it's time for you to grow up, mature, and start looking at what life is, what nature is, and so forth. We were looking tonight at this program. I think some of you had seen it. We looked on New Jersey Public Television tonight, and we were looking at this program about dolphins. Did you see about the dolphin that died, or flipper, or something like that? And here we are spending millions of dollars trying to communicate with this fish. And we're not really a fish, it's a mammal, but we're trying to communicate because evidently they have something to offer us. And we have been unable really to reach a point of finding out just what it is. But there's a new mythology being written. There's a new interest being written. There's a freedom that they have. There's a gentleness that they have. There's a non-violent posture that they have. There's a live and let live mentality that they have. There's a joy that they have. And basically, if you look at why we're so desperately trying to find out about dolphins, it's because they've got something we don't have. And that's what nature gives you. And that's why you're sitting here. And that's why this angel from heaven, or this impulse from your mind, has said to you, it's time for all of us to pull ourselves back and start looking at what life really is, where we're coming from, what we're supposed to be doing. And in this particular case with this angel or this impulse from, there is no separation. There is no Islam. There is no Christianity. There is no Buddhism. There is no Judaism. It's all junk. There is just people. There is just human beings who live, who follow in the realm of nature, and who interact with one another with no lines drawn. If you look at that, did you ever see the picture that they took from the moon of the planet Earth? It's so beautiful. There's no lines. I looked for the lines. There's no line that says that's the United States and that's something else. There's no lines. I always thought that there was really lines. There's no lines. There's no boundaries. It's one magnificent sphere of life. But we've drawn lines on it, and we've put labels on it, and we said this group has to stay here, and that group has to stay there. And once you put a label, once you draw a line and say, okay, this group stays here, and this group stays here, before long, this group's going to want to know what that group has, and that group, and be bang, 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 and they're dropping bombs on one another, because somebody drew lines. But this particular impulse that we're talking about, there is no separation. It's a Christ, it's a freedom, it's a life, it's an understanding that we've got to rise above all of this, because if you don't rise above all of this, it's going to fall down right on top of you. And it says in Revelation 14:7 that this impulse says, fear God and give glory to Him. It doesn't mean you should shake or quake in your boots. It means you should realize the results of your life by being separated from that which is this conscious impulse. What good is it? Where are you going? You know? What's going to happen to you? What's going to happen to your family? What's happening to your family right now? They absolutely have no worth, no realization, no understanding of why they're even alive. Nowhere to go. It's like people, you know what, so many, just think of some of your family members that know nothing of this stuff. It's like being on a bus and never getting off. Just stay there and keep going and going. You want to get off here? No. You want to get off here? No. I'm just going to stay on the bus and just stay there forever. Until one day, the bus driver turns around and the person's dead. They rode the bus forever, never got off, and never asked where the bus was going. So the higher impulse says in Revelation 14:7, "For the hour of judgment is come." See, religion is still waiting. And here's something written 2,500 years ago. The hour of judgment is come. And the hour of judgment is not God's, or the hour of judgment is yours. It's yours. It's up to you to make up your mind. Are you interested in finding out why you're alive? Are you interested in finding out why you're alive? Are you alive? And if you are alive, would you like to have some idea of why you are alive? Would you like to have some idea of where you came from? What is your past? What is your future? What the heck are you for? Is there anybody that has any interest? And basically this little thing that we're talking about tonight addresses that. It says in Revelation 14:7 that we're looking at, worship him that made heaven, that's your mind. Worship him that made the earth, that's your body. Worship him who made the sea, that's the deep truth. Worship him who made the fountains of waters, and that's the truth that moves and moves throughout you, that you're hearing right now. And that doesn't mean worship, get down on your hands and knees and go blah, 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 blah. It means acknowledge and make it a priority in your life to say, I want to find out about this thing which is heaven, which is inside of me. I want to find out about this earth, which is myself. I want to find out what is the truth, and I want to roll through that truth, which is the rivers of life that flow. I want to be a part of this thing. The heck, you got to try to find out from a dolphin, how do you do it? How come you're smiling all the time? How come you're grinning all the time? How come, you're free and, we've never been able to do that. Here's the great proclamation, say in verse 14:8. And there followed another angel, another impulse, saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. There's no way out of the stranglehold. There is no way out of this stranglehold, except, as Jesus Christ said, to follow that narrow way that few indeed find. You're strangled. There's no way out. You want security. Nobody's got any security. I was talking to somebody today, and their husband or the boyfriend, this guy's he works 55 hours a week in order to make $300. 55 hours a week. And what can you do? What can you say to anybody? Right. And you got all of these skills. I mean, we have somebody that has graduated, goes to this course, computer courses and all of this stuff. There's no jobs. And what do you tell a person, as you go home or as I go home, what do you tell these people that can't compete in this system? Pray, say a few prayers. In 2 Kings 25, there's a description that the old temple has been thrown down and despoiled, and the children of Israel carried away captive into Babylon. Basically, that's basically what has happened. And all of the vessels, it says, all the vessels of the house of the Lord were taken off into captivity. The material desires are overwhelming that which is God consciousness. There is, look what's happening now. Somebody said to me today, or showed me something about Santa Claus and being Santa and Satan having the same letters. They stretch the line. But what basically is it? What am I going to get? It's all this whole thing of Christmas, which is Jesus Christ, is what are you going to get? And you're raising children. You got all of these kids, and there's not one kid who's alive who doesn't have one thing on their mind. What am I going to get? And I better get what I want. I better get what I want. And they climb up on this monstrosity's lap in some department store, some guy that, this is the first job. And they're saying, I want this, and I want that, and I want the other thing, and I better get it. And then you say, well, this is it. This is Jesus' birthday. What am I going to get? It says in the Bible, and it says in the scriptures that we were reading, and I read earlier, that the enemy set fire to the house of God, which means that the physical passions start to burn in this rage. And all of us have experienced that. All that was precious was destroyed. All of the beautiful things of your life, at one time or another, you thought were going to be destroyed. You look back, and whatever it is that you've gotten into, something has damaged, something has hurt you, something has ripped you apart from within, and then you say, there's no way out of this. What am I going to do? All is destroyed. Love is destroyed. Healing is destroyed. And there's freedom from fear is destroyed. And all of these things make you anxious. And you're anxious for tomorrow, and you're anxious to what you're going to do, how you're going to be able to carry out your life. So there's a beautiful mystical part of what so far has been a description of the turn away from the higher to the lower, which is the falling of our individual egos. And now we're trying to regroup. It says in Ezra, why don't we just turn to that page for a minute, page 404 in Ezra chapter 1. Ezra chapter 1, page 404. And it says something there that's interesting. Ezra chapter 1 in verse 11. All the vessels of gold and of silver were 5,400. Do you see the number 9 there? That's exactly what being conveyed to you here. All this did Sheshbazzar bring up with them of the captivity. What is this saying? Is that in spite of the fall to the lower conscious of materialism, which all of us have been taking part in, the higher qualities are always preserved. In the soul, above the lower experience, there's always the higher qualities. In the soul, above the lower experience, there's always that hope. It's always there to be touched, if you're willing to sacrifice the time, if you're willing to commit yourself to it. Because you're the ones, you have to look back on your life and say, this is the way I wanted it to be. You have to look on your family's life and say, they had a good life. This is the way it should have been. And say, they had a good life. See, Christianity says they're saved. What have they done for anybody? What have we done for each other? What have we accomplished? I think it bothers me so much when I see these people come up and this is in favor of the black group, and this is in favor of the Jewish group, and this is in favor of the Italian group, and this is in favor of the Irish group, and the Catholic group, and nobody's in favor of the whole. Everybody's cut and chiseled out of their little particular cubicle, and I've got to stay here, and I've got to worry about my particular group. And we never come together, ever come together. So what that is saying, this Babylon is not able to keep the divine aspects of silver and gold. You're not able to keep the divine thing here because the mind falls and it crushes down upon you. But now, look what happens, and if we'll go back for just a minute in page 1010 in the book of Revelation. Revelation chapter 14 and verse 8, and see what happens. Revelation chapter 14 and verse 8. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen. She made all the nations drink of the wine of her, drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. 2,000 years ago it was fallen. Because it always had. 2,000 years ago, the great city is fallen. Because she made them drink. She is the emotions. And she made all the nations drink, whether the aspects of your personality. Each one of us have been forced into that situation where we've taken from that which is the lower. Drinking of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Because you had a spiritual intercourse with that which was the lower emotions. And that's what's being talked about here. We didn't preserve our inner womb for the bridegroom. And it's no fault of yours. It's no fault of mine. I didn't pick which church I was going to be born into. You didn't pick which church you were going to be born into. And now we come to Revelation chapter 14, verse 9. It says, the third angel followed, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand. That's the 666 sign that you know, which of course also equals 9. Any man worship the beast and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, that same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God. This is a direct reference to all who place value of themselves in the material power. One of the great things that has helped me in this experience and in learning these things is to expect nothing. Absolutely to expect nothing. And to simply grasp onto that which is coming tomorrow, I don't know. I have to somehow hold on to what I have today. And when I mean hold on to what I have today, it's just simply life. It's simply the mind. There is nothing to be accomplished. There is no goal. One of the things in business I've learned and I've never done is they say, how did you ever succeed? 21 years you run a cable system and you never set goals. Everybody sets goals. And one thing that I found out is when you set a goal, not only do you put yourself under such stress, but once you think you've reached that goal, you'll find somebody else will say, okay, you've reached this goal, now here's a new one. Here's a new one. Here, try to get to this one. And when you reach that one, they move it over here. It's like the little rabbit at the Greyhound. They're constantly moving it ahead, and you never get. And just when it's in your grasp, they move it ahead. There's no way to catch it. There's no way to accomplish it. So all the things, oh, I want to accomplish something. I want to have security. And then you raise the kids and you say, I want to put them through college so they have security. And then the girl gets pregnant, the guy runs off with a circus or something, and you're standing here and you spend thousands of dollars. And it's out of your control. It's like, oh, I've got, you know, I've set this up for the family. Did you see broken people? We were talking about it today. Even the way, you know, the way people dress to say, well, I can't be seen with these kids the way they have minds of their own. They're like dolphins. They think, and so, you know, we can't deal with it. They're like dolphins, these kids. They're free. They do whatever the heck they want. They go wherever they want. And we stand around trying to interpret what they're saying. And we get all freaked out because not that they're doing anything wrong, but they're not doing things the way we want. And basically, this is the foundation of the falling of Babylon. It's a direct reference to all who place a value on their lives in the material lower consciousness. And you can't let another person live. One of the things that we were watching in this tape that Mustafa showed, when you see these people, the Lebanese and the coming after and the different aspects of the Jews and all these people are fighting and blowing each other up. And it's called an eye for an eye, you know. And that's basically, this is biblical, an eye for an eye. And then what he said on the television was, what they have to learn is to get rid of an eye for an eye and adapt the philosophy of live and let live. Live and let live. If you look at Revelation 14:10, you'll see why so many of us have experienced such a miserable existence. The same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. And then we shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the angels and in the presence of the Lamb. Those who focus constantly on this, which is their lower nature, drink. It's very important to define the wrath of God. God is love. God's wrath is impossible. And the wrath of God simply is the absence of God's love. The wrath of God is simply the absence of that love. And that's what happens to us then, and that's what has happened. Each one of us, or else you wouldn't be sitting here. There's no reason. Why the heck are you sitting here on a Sunday night? Why are you even sitting there watching this thing on television? There's something that you're trying to find out. There's something as I thumb through these papers that I'm trying to find out. There's something as I thumb through this Bible that I'm trying to find out. And yet all of it is just more and more and more words. And I'm sick of words. And somewhere or other I want to enter into this thing and touch this thing and let it explode in a natural way and say, hey, I finally think that I'm on that road to find out. It's like the song that, what's his name? I'm on the road to find out. I forget. Come on, what's the guy's name? Cat Stevens singing. I'm on the road to find out. And this is basically where I'm standing. I want to find out. I'm not content with just sitting with you and reading words and words and words and entertaining ourselves with words. So we look at all of this stuff like we did this morning. We find shocking things and we find crazy things and we say, I've got to find out. I've got to choose now. What am I going to do? What am I going to do with my... I'm setting myself up as some kind of an outlaw with the system up there. Say, gee, you know, I don't want to be part of you anymore. So then what am I going to be part of? What's this new thing we're going to be part of? We've got to have a new religion. And there's got to be a one-world religion, which scares the hell out of Christianity. And the one-world religion has to be nature. And maybe that's why they're listening to dolphins. Maybe that's why they're listening to dolphins, because maybe if they're listening to dolphins, they're listening to God. So you got to have, according to this, you got to have the sign of the beast. And the sign of the beast you got to have in your right hand, which means in the energy you've got to have that energy to compete. You've got to be ready to slay. You've got to be able to put that energy out to give and to take. And then you got to have that energy in your mind. You've got to have the intellect and you've got to have the energy. And unless you've got that, you're not going to be able to buy or sell in the system. It doesn't mean you can't go to the store. Do you know? Do you know there was a time going with religion, with Christianity, people that they saw these things and they said that the beast was the thing that you get on the shop, right? The little lines that tell you how much you're going to pay. Do you know that's a fact? Oh, there it is. That's the sign of the beast, all right. You know, you run this thing under the machine, says, yeah, your Post Toasties or whatever it is 35 cents or $1.50, whatever it is, and that's the sign of the beast. And that's not the sign of the beast. The sign of the beast is the desire to accumulate and to have more and to accumulate more and to have more and to compete, and that's the sign of the beast. So that's the wrath of God. In John 8:44 it says, you are of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He is a liar. So we could say that being led carnally, we are subject to the father of lies. And basically that's what it is. The father of lies, and that has been the father who has communed with us all of these times, or else we wouldn't have dropped atomic bombs to kill millions or hundreds of thousands of people. We wouldn't, you know, I saw them again today. Did you see them come marching back from Somalia? What in God's name did they do there? What did they do? They're marching back. They're heroes. There's 18 of them or 20 of them or 30 of them they left over there somewhere. They're dead. What was accomplished? Doesn't make any difference. If you object to it, you're a traitor. See? The guy they were chasing around, the guy's name was, what was it, Aidid? The CIA said he was a horrible guy. Now they found out the CIA was wrong, so they're giving him an escort. They're carrying him around place to place. But the people are dead. Doesn't make any difference. We have to follow it anyhow because they say that's right. The suffering experienced is exactly the same for every human being. There's no mixture. It's a suffering of individuality, one to the other, and it's horrible. But I can only tell you that as this system falls, as all the Babylons have fallen, the problem with it is this country can fall, Russia can fall, Israel can fall, Ireland can fall. The real part of it which frightens me is you can fall. That's where Babylon is. You can fall. And there we have, in really the context of what we're talking about tonight, is what happens? What happens if you don't pay attention? What happens if you don't take this seriously? Where do you go? Where do you go with your life? Where do you go when you walk out this door? What possible future is there for you? If you have no idea of where nature is taking you, you have no idea of what's happening in this age, you're just going to live. And you know what we're living for? Next Friday night, Christmas Eve. That's our big deal. And do you know what happens to a lot of people? You'll have Christmas Eve, and then you'll have Christmas, and then everybody gets smashed on New Year's Eve, and then they sit there and they stare and they watch this tree die in the middle of their living room, and everything falls off of the tree. And then it just starts to droop. And then he gets sick of us. Who's going to take all this crap down? I ain't ever going to put this up again. And it goes down and down and down. And then all of a sudden somebody finally drags it out. And it's this thing of glory, praise God, and the living Jesus is laying out in a garbage heap next to your cans of old whiskey bottles and all the other stuff that's out there. And it's all gone. It's all over. And now you know what? There's nothing to live for until next Christmas Eve. What am I going to do? Nothing. I have to stay in the house and watch TV because I don't have anything to live for. Wait till next Christmas and we'll do it again.
You got Easter coming up.
Oh, that's a great time. That's a great time. And you can eat chocolate and you can wear a hat. You can wear a hat and eat chocolate. This is just great. And you know we were talking about this morning. It's an amazing thing about this thing. Here you have one of the great cultures of the universe, great cults of the universe, Christianity, and they pick for their most holy days the winter solstice and the spring equinox. Why? And they get ticked off when everybody says, it's the winter solstice. Oh, that's a cult. Then why'd you pick it for your day? See? It wasn't the Druids who said, we will have the winter solstice on Christmas. There was no Christmas. It was the Christians who said, we will have Christmas on the winter solstice. Because they didn't understand the true nature of it, you see. And so now we're all consumed. People are getting depressed, and some people are getting high, and nobody understands why. Because of what's going on. It's cosmic. This is a cosmic event that's going on. It's a beautiful event, but it's a cosmic event. It has nothing to do with your trees. It has nothing to do with you. You know what, everybody, even probably, you know what you're doing? You're running up credit cards like crazy. Credit cards are maxing out all over the place. You know, in Tops, Tops and in all these crazy stores, the cards are going flying, and they're buying all crap that you don't want any of. Nobody wants this stuff. I don't want it. You don't want it. And then when it's all over, you know what? They bought you the present, and in many of your families, you're going to get the bill. You're going to get the bill. Your kid's going to go and buy you a present, and you're going to get the bill. You're going to have to pay it off for 4 months. $50 a month. You're going to have to pay for it. And you can't say, this is terrible, because they thought it was wonderful. I used to just run around in department stores looking for stuff. That woman has every possible thing. Every possible thing there was. And I'm running around and looking at electric pots and old hair dryers and nail curlers and all this stuff. For what? Because I was obsessed with what? Exactly what's being talked about. You got to give some, because God forbid. You know what we just did? We just sent out 200 Christmas cards. Half of them people we don't even see. We don't even know who these people are. They're just getting Christmas cards. We hope you have a Merry Christmas. I don't even care if they have a Merry Christmas. I don't even care if they have a Christmas. I really don't. But there's a card. Isn't this nice? And you know what? Some fool that got a card from us forgot to send us one, and they're going to go running down there to get a card. Geez, we better send them a card. They don't care whether I have a nice Christmas either, but they're going to send me a card. And this is the lunacy that we're caught up in, all of this stuff. And it's absolute lunacy, Can't we just... But if we don't do... You see, I always people get ticked off at me because I screw up their Christmas, tell them about all of these things. So I said, okay, all right, this Christmas, 1993, I'm laying hands off. So you're going to come in here Friday night. You know what they're going to do? They're going to sing Silent Night, Holy Night, and they're going to read the Baby in the Chamber and all this stuff. I'm not going to say nothing. I'm not going to say it because I don't want to screw it up. But boy, am I going to screw it up the next day. The next day is Sunday, and I'm going to screw up Christmas then. But I pledged that I was going to come in here and sip, what are we going to have? Sprite or eggnogs, and I'll get cramps from eggnog. I get cramps from eggnog. I shouldn't drink that stuff. See, what has that got to do? Now, I just wanted to ask you this. Here, think of the credit cards at Tops and all of this stuff, or Radio Shack. Here's a great place. Get out of Radio Shack. You can buy all kinds of crap that you don't want, but you can buy tons of that stuff. Just think of that, and then think of this thing with Jesus. What does he got to do with that? What has he got to do with that? But this is our thing. But the serious part of it, then, and I enjoy it. Let me set this record straight. I don't enjoy it. I am a screw. I don't enjoy it. Joan put the tree up last night. There are, there's 35 cardboard boxes laying in the middle of the living room floor. The garage, you can't even get into it because she's got all her paraphernalia out, and it's all over the place. But I had nothing to do with it. Huh? I went to sleep because I can't handle it. But I just wish that somehow we could get these people who are outside of there to recognize and to see what's really happening and what's going to happen in this culture.
Yeah, right.
I want to see that nail curl. Yeah.
Do what?
You said you got me a nail curl.
Well, I didn't know what the heck I'm talking about. What did I say this morning? You wouldn't want me to repeat that either. So what are we going to do? I think somehow or other we've got to do something a little more radical to let people know just how serious this is, and try to let people know what the truth is. And how are we going to do it? How are we going to convey this? What's going to happen in 1994 that hasn't happened in 1993 that will allow us to convey this in a more demonstrative way, just how serious the implications are here. And the implications are this: if your house is falling down, you're going to be frightened. So just expand that over millions of people that finally see this structure that they depended on for their security all start to fall down and come crumbling down. And a lot of people are going to be very, very frightened. And you're the ones that are going to have to sit. And you're the ones that are going to have to stand by and convey to them the truth of what is happening to their society and their culture as it continues to fall apart from inside. There's no stopping it now. So we'll go on. Babylon has fallen, it says in the Bible, and indeed it has. And all of the Babylons from around the world have found their way at one time or another to fall. But what I am concerned about more than anything is not the structural Babylons of any country, but the Babylons of your own mind, and that they don't fall. That Babylon, you be like that angel and fly above it and beyond it, and reach a point within yourself where you finally say, gosh, you know, I don't know what's going to happen, but I know there's only one safe harbor, only one place, and I've got to be there where I'm going to build the ark. I've got to be within myself, and I've got to trust that, because there is nothing else you can trust. There is not one other thing on the face of this earth that you can trust for your security or your survival or that of your family. But that one thing that exists is within you, in that realm of consciousness. And you can get out and you can read the books from the gurus, you can read the Krishnamurtis, you can read the Bhagwan, you can read all of these books. And maybe even by doing that, you'll reach some conclusion that somebody knows what they're talking about. There is an essence within us, there's an essence within dolphins, there's an essence within nature itself. And when you begin to harmonize with it, that's when you'll find, and that's when I'll find that true essence of, I don't worry if Babylon falls. If Babylon falls, I can't do anything about it. But I have to rise above it and bring as many people to that upper place as I can. Remember what we were talking about this morning? We were talking about, this was pretty graphic. Anyhow, in order to get married, David had to give a dowry to his father-in-law, Saul. And Saul wanted 100 foreskins of the Philistines who he slaughters. And so David went and got 200. Well, that sounds like a very grotesque and gross thing, which it is. But what was being said there is that the mission that we all have is to kill that which is the desire aspect out of as many people as we can, and then cut away the desire, that outer desire, and allow a person to be free from those things. There's no turning back. The system can't do it. Neither can you and I, really, but we can let people know and put it down into language that they can accept and that they can be reasonable with. They've got to let the old way die, and that desire to have and that desire to guide a life that is part of the system has got to be cut away. Or else, indeed, each one has a Babylon, and each one will experience that fall. Thank you very much for sharing this time.